today, and we're going to be talking about specific use cases of the options market, right? So if VWAP is volume weighted average price, what is VPOC? Now VPOC is simply the volume point of control, or in short, the area where the largest concentration of volume is on a volume profile chart. So there is a distinction we make at VTrender when it comes to volume. 95% of traders, when they look at volume below the price bar. Okay. At VTrender, what we do is we focus on volume right next to the price bar, and we also focus on
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, all. A quick sound check. Welcome back. Welcome back to this Monday session where we first talk about the weekly review of what happened in spot, both in Nifty as well as Bank Nifty last week. And then we move on to what has happened today and what we can expect going forward in this week, which is an important one because we have an event coming up on Wednesday night, which is the Fed meeting. And the expected rate cut is going to come, but what will the rate cut be that can give markets a good cue to move ahead. So coming back to what the weekly report which is published on the website, let's start with the Nifty report. So Nifty last week on Monday we had spoken how we got this AP rate buying tail. So we had this session at 5 p.m. last Monday, where we had spoken about how we have got a responsive buying tail last Friday, followed by a initiative buying tail on Monday. So I had also given that reference of 24799, which was the A period halfback. So I'll just open up the weekly profile chart and we'll have a look at what we have done last week so that we can figure out how we could have. So this is the first day of last week, 9th of September. And this is what we did. We left an AP rate buying tail, and in market profile, we give lot of importance to the AP rate singles. We had a similar AP rate singles the preceding Friday where we got a trend day down. And when we got an opposite side AP rate buying tail, it was very clear that initiative demand is come back into the market. And we had this reference of 24799 as the swing level for the week. And I had also mentioned as long as this is holding, we can expect more upside in the Nifty for the rest of the week. So we did hold on to this level, and what we did after that was we formed this POC at 24888 and we defended this POC. The day after the first day of, on Tuesday we made value higher, and on Wednesday we made a neutral extreme day down, but this took support right at this POC. And Thursday, what we did was we completed this 3 day balance. It was not a 3 day, it was more a 2.5 day balance. And we left a failed auction at this level 24941, and we went on to make a trending move higher, which not only took out this weekly value, repaired these poor all-time highs which we had from the first week of September, and then we went on to make new all-time highs of 25433. So as expected, once we get a trending move, we can expect the next session to be a balanced one. So that is what we did on Friday. We remained in this neutral extreme zone, and we formed a normal day with tails at both ends and a prominent POC at 25363. So we can in fact club these 3 days because they have similar value and have this as a reference. And this is one day where we got that first signal that the buyers have come back into the auction and the sellers may have booked out who had entered from previous week. So coming back to the weekly report, it was very clearly mentioned the profile on the weekly time frame was a double distribution trend one up, and it was an outside bar in terms of range. In fact, it was a double outside bar because last week we formed higher highs and lower lows, and this week it started with lower lows and then we went on to close above the previous highs. So it was a reverse of what happened last week. Last week we started with the open above the weekly high and then we closed below. So this is a double distribution trend day, trend up profile on the weekly time frame, and this zone of singles would be an important support zone going forward. So this 25295 is the start of the singles at the top, and this extension handle is at 25130. So this has been mentioned in this weekly report. The DD zone from 25130 to 25256. Sorry, it is not 25295, it is 25256. Would be the support zone along with this failed auction of 24941, which will be now a swing reference in Nifty spot. On the upside, our first reference was this 25363, the HVN in the upper distribution, which was the POC of Friday. And the higher objectives which were expected this week are 24490 and 25905. So what has happened today, we'll have a look at that. And we had this hypos given for today. So let's get back to today's profile, and I'll just increase the TPO size so that we can see what we did today. So it was the open type was an open auction in Nifty spot. And if I take you only to the IB initial balance, you can see how we formed higher highs in the B and we had left a similar A period buying tail as we left on last Monday. So here you can see the halfback of the A period was 25390. So just like how 24799 last week was that reference for us, this 24390 was our reference here. And in fact, we had the session in the room today, the VMR at 10:30, the audio session. We had discussed about the possibility of we getting the 80% rule in this Friday's value. So we were looking for a break of this 24392 and entry into this value 25386 for a 80% rule. That means we would get this 25350 as our objective. Although the range was not big, the setup was always there. And what we did after the B period was the C period you can see made a low right at this previous value area high. But once we got into the value in the D, it went on to complete that 80% rule and made lower lows in the F and G also. But the lower reference in this was this buying tail, which is a 25310. So unless that is taken out, we cannot be totally bearish. This move, what we got today was more because we did not find fresh demand at these new highs. So the auction had to probe lower in search of buyers. So which is why we probe lower, we went below this value, but this buying tail was defended. So what we have done today is we have formed a normal variation day, which is a nice balance. It's a nice balance profile and the value is overlapping. And what we have done is we have found value in this A period selling tail of Friday. This lower buying tail is still holding. So that means the buyer is still holding the control, and we can combine these two profiles and have a composite which we can use for tomorrow's reference. So this now a 2-day composite looks a very nice Gaussian curve, and a good balance is formed in Nifty after this imbalance we saw on the neutral extreme day on Thursday. So this value area 25349 to 25401 would be our reference, and we will need an initiative move from either side of this value. So even if we are getting a move away, we will also have to make sure that auction takes off this small tail at the top in case we are moving to the upside. And whereas on the downside, if we are getting a move low below this value area low, we will need to negate this A period buying tail. So that is how we are placed in Nifty spot, and it looks like we can get a good move to tomorrow or on the day after. So because the auction is completed a nice balance, so it can give us a imbalance move in the coming session or two. So we will have to see how this goes, and we have this prominent TPO POC at this 25377, which will be which will act like a magnet. In case we are not able to move away from these tails, the auction will just keep coming back to this magnet and continue to form a balance around this zone. So this is as far as the Nifty spot is concerned. So these hypos for tomorrow will get updated end of day today. So you will have the fresh levels out. So looking at the chart, we can very quickly see what the references would be. So I just like I showed you how we can merge the profiles. I have done this on a weekly time frame. We can also do the same on a daily time frame. So I'll just quickly go to the Nifty spot TPO chart, and here you can see we have these daily profiles, and you can see how when do we need to merge profiles is when we have the auction in a range or we are forming overlapping value. This 3 day is not ideally a you can say not all 3 days have formed overlapping value, but what the auction has done is completed forming a range. So this also we can combine to get one balanced profile from where we know that the auction has moved lower, and we can continue doing this for n number of days wherever we see the auction forming overlapping value. So these are the profiles of last week. So you can see how the Friday and the Monday profile had overlapping value, but and with opposite tails. So value was almost similar in both, but we had a initiative selling tail in 6th September profile and the opposite buying tail in the 9th September profile. So if we would have merged this value, we get one POC which becomes our important reference. So this POC was getting defended when we made a move lower. So that was telling us that this buyer is more stronger now than the seller who had come in here, because he's able to defend this POC. And what he slowly did was he found acceptance in this big long selling tail. We formed value for 3 consecutive days in the tail, forming this 3-day balance. We just need to click on those profiles of daily chart and click on merge profile, and we get this composite. So you can see how now it is very clearly telling us that how value is formed completely higher compared to this 2-day. So this is giving us further confirmation that this is a new IPM which is started from the 9th of September. And now this is continuing. This will continue as long as we formed overlapping to higher value. So after that, we have these 2 days. As this is Friday and today. I've selected both this profile and I've clicked on merge, and we have this as our new reference. So now you can also save these bookmarks. You have the option of saving them as a bookmark, and because this is merged with today's chart, and today's chart will be considered as a live chart, and you are not able to save a merged live chart. Once in the evening the charts are reset, once the NSE data is come, at that time you will be able to save this merge profile. So you can save these bookmarks so that you don't need to keep merging the profiles again and again. So what I have is, I have a bookmark section where I've already saved these bookmarks. So I have a Nifty monthly profile, weekly profile, daily profile. So I just click on this daily profile, and whatever profiles I have merged before, the 3-day profile which I showed you, already are saved in that. So now this would be our latest data to look at. So this is how we merge profiles and make use of balances, and see when we are moving away from a balance and when we are continuing to stay in a balance. So tomorrow, if we get a buying tail, initiative buying tail at the 25400 level, we know that the auction is could give us a fresh imbalance to the upside, and we accordingly uh, prepare ourselves for those kind of trades using the order flow. So this is about the Nifty spot, and coming to the Bank Nifty spot, what we did in Bank Nifty last week was also a similar kind of auction, because we started with an A period buying tail. So I'll quickly open the Bank Nifty weekly chart and do a quick review of what we did last week. So even the weekly charts can be unmerged to daily profile. You just need to select the weekly chart and click on this unmerge, which has come at the bottom. So now we have the daily profile charts of last week. So let's discuss about what has happened last week, and then we will move on to today's auction. So you can see how we had this buying tail on Friday, responsive buying tail. This was the L period one, and on Monday we opened lower. We opened low. We made new lows, and what we did in the process was we tagged the monthly POC of 5415, the monthly POC of August, which we have already covered in our monthly session, and we have a monthly report which is up on the website as well, and we have explained before how we use 3 important monthly reference for the entire series which goes forward. So when the September series started, we had 3 important levels. One was the rollover point, which was at 51415 in Bank Nifty, and the second was the POC of August, which was at 40415, and the third was the VWAP, which was at 5629. So when 5629 was broken, it was first thing, when the rollover point was broken, 5415, the bias in Bank Nifty became to the downside, and it became weak. So rollover point we consider as the level to see, to have a bullish or a bearish bias, and as long as we remained below that 51415, in fact we left a failed auction also around the place in spot, and that was our swing reference. I'll come to how it was explained in the last week's profile also. So last week's report, if you see, we had marked that 51419, which will now be a swing supply point on the downside, and this buying tail 5569 to 447 will be the zone to overcome by the sellers for a probe to the weekly ATR of 52223 and 49773. So this is what we were expecting if we had broken through the POC, but the monthly POC showed us a rejection. How the rejection came in form of this A period buying tail, and last week we had made a note of this A period halfback of 5531. So just like in Nifty, we had the 24799 as our reference. 5531 was our level to watch in Bank Nifty spot, and we not only held this, but we also held this POC of Monday, which was at 5765, and we made a spike higher into the close, and this extension handle was defended in the next 2 sessions. We've left a B period buying tail in the next session, and the neutral extreme, which left an FA right at that 51419 level, and it gave us a drop of 500 points. It could not break below this extension handle. So this was telling us that now slowly the buyer is having more control than the seller. Previously, last week, it was the seller who was controlling the auction. And here, even when it hit 51415 for the first time last week, the seller came back and he pushed the auction by 500 points. But the buyers who had entered the auction last week came on to defend this extension handle, and then went on to leave a failed auction at 51025 on Thursday. And from that failed auction, we not only completed the 280R objective, but we went on to make new highs for the month, and we took out the August selling tail, which was from 51608 to 51877. So previously we had tried to take the tail out, but we stalled in the middle. I think we made a high of 51635 or 645. So that August selling tail was still being held by the sellers, which was taken out in this move. The high on the 12th September was exactly 51878. So we just negated the tail, and what we did the next day was we this neutral extreme zone got accepted. We formed value in this neutral extreme zone, and we went on to make new highs. So this was a bullish close for the Bank Nifty last week, and the weekly profile of Bank Nifty was that of a triple distribution trend up, because the first day we got an A period buying tail, we got a VPOC at 5765, and then we formed a 2.5 day balance with a prominent POC at 51186, and then we went on to live another extension handle right at that FA point and that swing supply point of 51419. So this is how market profile will give us repeated references at the same level, and it'll also show us when the polarity of that particular level is changing. So till Wednesday, this 51419 was a supply point. But once it was taken out by an extension handle on Thursday in that neutral extreme day where we had a failed auction, once was taken out by an extension handle, it was very clear that the buyer is now holding all the aces. And that level never came back. And it will still now remain important support to the downside, because we have left this extension handle, a zone of singles at that place. So when we are leaving a zone of singles, just like how we left an initiative buying tail at the test of previous month's POC, a zone of singles at this another important swing level of 51419 tells us that the buyer is wanting to take the auction in his direction. And that is what he did. And what we did into the close was we formed a POC at 51930, which was our reference for today's open. So if we check out the close of the weekly report, it so we have mentioned how it tested last month's POC. We left an initiative buying tail from 5369 to 5535, and then a VPOC at 5765, which was followed by a 3-day balance. This balance, the value of that balance would be an important reference going forward. And then we have couple of FAs at 51420 and 51025 with an extension handle at 51549. So this we have formed an A period buying tail from 51672 to 644 with halfback at 51819, which would be the reference on the downside. Whereas for the upside, we need to stay above this 51930 POC of Friday for a tag of July's POC. So in market profile, whenever we get rejected from a from a POC in one direction, the normal objective would be the POC in the other direction, and this is valid for all time frames. So just like how I showed you, we got rejected from August month's POC of 5415 on the downside last week. So the auction's objective now is to go on to tag the monthly POC, which is on the upside. So that monthly POC is at this 52333, and we can expect this to get tagged tomorrow and complete that uh, imbalance which started with the test of that 5415 monthly POC. So this is how we look at the structure using market profile, understand the structure using market profile, and also gauge what the auction is trying to do. how good the job it is doing, it is give the answer to that is given by looking at the order flow charts, because the volumes and the buying and selling signals will come in the order flow chart. So spot wise, this was our reference. And if we take a quick look of what we have done today, I'll just again increase this TPO size. So you can see how we opened above this POC. In fact, we did have a freak tick of 51,900, I think, at the open. For 51,921 was the low in spot today. So, but that was just a freak tick at the open, because after the open we never made a low below that 51,950. So technically this 51930 is a VPOC, a POC which has not been visited, a virgin POC, and we remained above this with an AP rate buying tail. But what we did, similar to Nifty spot, is after this initial balance, we went on to test this AP rate buying tail, and we even broke this halfback of 52061. But unlike Nifty, what we have done in Bank Nifty is we have taken support right above previous day's high. So you can see how the G period is made a low right at the high of Friday. So that is telling us that the auction does not want to get into previous range or value. And this rejection from the POC which came at the start is still valid, because we have left one A period buying tail from this 52007 level. So until the time we are holding this buying tail, and because today is the start of the week, this is a weekly buying tail. So this will be our reference for the settlement of Bank Nifty, which is coming day after. And although the Fed event will be post the settlement, we can expect this tail to hold till the settlement, because even if there is any negative news which comes out and negative move after the Fed announcement, it'll be only after the weekly settlement of Bank Nifty. So that will come into play only on Thursday in our markets. So, so for tomorrow and day after, this buying tail would be the reference on the downside. And as long as this is holding, our target of 52333 would be on. And we will need to see how we are shaping the profile tomorrow. So today is a P-shaped profile, and we have the POC at 52153. So 52153 will be our reference, and based on this, we will have the upside targets for tomorrow. If we do not stay above 52153, then we will look for a test of this buying tail. And if this does not hold, then we are looking for a probe back into this Friday's profile. So this is as far as the Bank Nifty spot is concerned, and we will have these hypos updated for tomorrow in this weekly report itself. So you can always come back today, end of the day, and have a look at that. And a similar look at how we can merge the Bank Nifty TPO charts. And for spot, it is always recommended to open the Bank Nifty spot TPO charts, because spot does not have volume. So we'll go for the TPO based charts. So here you can see how we have this 5-day balance last week. From 30th August to 5th of September, we have just been forming overlapping POC and value. Although we did make a attempt to move away after leaving this failed auction here, we came back into this zone. So we have selected all these 5 profiles, and if I give a merge, I'll get that 5-day composite. And from this 5-day composite, we got the trend day last Friday, which told us that the seller is now in control and he would want to test the lower references. And that is what he did. He went on to make a trend day down and even tested that monthly POC, where we got a reverse buying tail. So just like a failed auction is negated by another failed auction, A period buy and tail is negated by a opposite A period tail. So once this A period buying tail was confirmed, this A period selling tail relevance was over. And how, you can see how we formed this 3-day composite last week in this selling zone. So selling zone, if a zone is dominated by a particular player and he's given only a single TPO in that particular zone, whenever it will come back to that zone, that player will want to defend. But if we are forming this kind of a value, that means this seller is either booked out, not coming back, or he is slowly being overpowered by the buyers. So this balance will now be an important reference in Bank Nifty spot, and this extension handle, the first one is at 51420, which was our swing point. And then we have this another one at 51549, which is mentioned in the report. So those will be our references. And as long as those are holding, we can expect the dip, if we are getting any in this Friday's profile, to be defended. Whereas if we continue the imbalance to the upside, we will need to open and stay above this 52153, and that 52333 I've already explained will be our first objective. So this is how we are placed in the spot. Now let us have a quick look at what we have done in the futures today, and then have a look at some of the option line charts of today. So this is the Nifty futures profile chart, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up the two window mode, which is a very useful feature in the chart section, because we cannot have so many screens on to watch so many things. We have the market profile, we have the order flow, we have spectrum, then we have Bank Nifty, we have options, and then we have order flow of options. So how can we uh, make most of these? So in the chart section, we have these options to make it a dual window mode, a triple window mode, and then a four window mode. So if you have bigger screens, we can definitely go in for this four window mode and have four different charts you can observe in one particular window. So right now I am going with this two window mode, where I have the market profile chart on my left, and I will put on the order flow chart, which is possible by one single click. You have these symbols at the bottom right, and I already have the Nifty symbol here. Nifty is the Nifty futures. So I just need to click on the order flow symbol here, and I'll get the order flow chart. And now what I'm doing is I'm switching it to the 15-minute time frame, so that we can have a quick look at what has happened today. Although in the room we follow the 30 minutes as well as the 3-minute order flow, and accordingly we look to take trades. To have a quick review of what we have done today, I am putting this 15-minute charts up. So you can see how the 15-minute open was started by zeros above previous day's POC. So this in fact looked a bullish start, and we got this IB bar in the very next bar in order flow. But what happened after that? After this IB, the next bar which we made in the B period, when we made these new highs, we can see only selling side volumes here, and this bar as such is an RS, responsive selling pattern. And here you can see on the buy side we have zeros. We have a zone of almost 5 zeros with 186 buyer which is there. So what is this telling us? This is telling us that there is no demand coming in Nifty at these new highs. So this kind of order flow signal, where you have zeros at the extreme, is a definite uh, move to come out of longs. There is no case of short as yet in this, but definitely if you are holding longs, this bar is telling you book profits or trail to cost, or at least this POC of the IB bar. So we have this RS, and what happened after that was we were not able to take off this RS of 25774. We have already seen no demand at the top. So this was telling us now the auction will have to probe lower, and probe lower means this VPOC will come into play, the 253761 and the value of Friday. So that is what we did in spot. We saw how we did completed the 80% rule in Friday's value. In futures, once we broke this IBPOC, it was a slow grind lower, where we went on to make a low right at that POC. The POC of Friday was at 25376, and you can see how we have made a low of 25376 in that D period, E period extension. So we made lower lows in D, E, and F. But here you can see what is happening is the POC in all these bars are shifting to the lows. Can you see that? Although the sellers are there, you have more reds, the cot is also red, the POC placement in these order flow bars are shifting to the lows. So when they're shifting to the lows, what is it telling us? It is telling us that these are responsive buying patterns which are forming. So if you want more move on the downside, you needed to have IS bars, initiative selling patterns. But these, just like how we had an RS bar here, telling us that the longs are no longer uh, favorable, these RB bars at the lows were telling us these sellers, the reds which have come here, are coming in a wrong zone. And at the close of this bar, it was very clear that all these reds who have come, what we call the laggard reds, are could get into trouble. And that is what happened. Once we got this IB bar, it was very clear that this auction is going to go for a test above VWAP. And once it does that, there are very good chances of it going and testing the morning RS bar of this 25474. So we got this RB plus IB, and with that as our reference, we can look for a retracement on the upside, because just like how we had no demand at the top, these sellers are failing at the bottom, and you have this nice 896 green here, followed by an IB bar. So this is definitely telling us that we need to look for longs, and after this we get another IB at VWAP. So this is giving us more confirmation. Now the sellers are all into trouble. And here you can see more greens rather than reds. And then the high we make here is exactly that RS of morning 25474. So this is how order flow and market profile give us such precise references and levels. So this here, if you are long, just like how you did in the morning, you need to come out of longs when this RS turned up. So this RS is forming the RS which is formed here is exactly at that morning RS. So we had a similar case on 2nd of September, and we covered that in that 5 p.m. session which we had later that day, where we found initiative selling coming in the A period itself at 25409. And when in the E period we made that pullback high, that pullback stalled right at that 25409 level, and the 25409 became one important reference. And as long as that was holding, we were looking for more downside, and that is what we got over the next few sessions. So a similar thing has happened here, but uh, this RS is not been followed up with an IS so far. So that is the reason we are not completely bearish in Nifty futures, and we have closed right at this POC of today. So what will be the reference for tomorrow is, we can, just like what we did in spot, although the value is not overlapping here, the range is, and it is more like a 2-day balance which we have formed. So we can take this as our reference, and on the upside, this 474 where you have got consecutive RS levels would be the level to watch. And on the downside, we will need to get some sell side reference at this POC of 25376 and this RB bar which we have made today, and then negate this buying tail from Friday. So that is how we look at order flow and look at trades. I'll just quickly look at the options table and see the open type in today. Nifty futures was an open auction. So it was very clear that you can look at the straddle chart and look at option writers being active today. So in the table we had seen on Thursday how we can see get this gamma zero level which was at 25,400. So how do we open the straddle chart from the option table? We had discussed about this also. We have the strike price right in the middle, and the middle column of the strike price has two icons next to that strike price. So the first one is the market profile straddle chart, and the second one is the line chart. So if we open the market profile straddle chart, it opens up in a new window. And just like how we did, what I'll do is I'll have this window in a this browser in a two window mode, so that on one side we have this market profile chart, and on the other side I have the same straddle chart line chart of that straddle. So how do we get the line chart? Either we, from the options table, we click on the line chart, which is there in the middle column, or after we have done the switch to window mode, go to the straddle chart and click on the icon which is there at the bottom right. So how does the line chart helps us? It tells us if the OI is building and where the POC and the VWAP of the straddle is. So you can see how right at the open we can see the OI of this straddle increasing, and it went on to go up. That means the straddle was being written. So when a straddle is being written, the reference at the open for the straddle would be the previous day's value. So the previous day's value was holding. We have left an AP rate selling tail. Although this straddle are not given too much of a downside, it was very clear that the uh, market is not going to trend till the time we get back into this value of the straddle. So that's the reason, even though we made a move above VWAP couple of times in this straddle, overall the trend was on the downside and A period selling tail was holding, and we went on to make lower lows from the H to the JTPO. So this is how we can look at the line charts of straddles along with the market profile chart, and we can also look at uh, put and call options of the line charts also. So I'll just quickly take an example of 25,200 call chart. And how do we open the line chart of the any option is by the calls are on the left and the puts are on the right, and the middle column is the strike price. So the middle column will give the straddle chart, the market profile and line chart of all the strikes, whereas on the left you can open all the call charts, the market profile and the line call charts, and on the right, when wherever you have these icons, you can click the market profile and line chart of the puts. So let's have a look at both one call and one put of today in Nifty and see what the line chart and the order flow chart was showing us. So I'm clicking at the line chart of the 25,200 call, and this is where we started. You can see how at the open we were above the POC and the VWAP. We went on to make new highs and the POC shifted to the top. So in line chart, this is a very important feature, and these POCs, the shifting of POCs and the levels of where the POCs have left an important mark are to be made a note of and kept as probable objectives whenever the auction comes back to it later. So you can see how this POC we made in the morning, which was at 273, is exactly where we stalled again in the afternoon, which we saw in the market profile and the order flow chart also, where we made that RS at 25474. So you can see this 25,200 call stalling right at this previous POC. So this POC will keep shifting during the day. It started at 242. It saw an up move. It saw profit booking by the longs, and the POC moved higher. From here, it went on to probe lower, and the POC from 274 again shifted lower here to 236. And once again, when we got above VWAP at this 115 bar, we went on to tag this POC again of 274. And the open interest was not too much in this, so we don't have that much of uh, signal where writers have been forced to come out in the this particular call side, because there was not much writing in this 25,200 call. If we have a look at a similar 25,400 call, maybe we can see if writers had gotten there and some of the writers were forced to exit because of the up move in Nifty. So here you can see how this 25,400 call is shown. OI increased till this 1230. And then when we got about this POC and VWAP with a green bar, this OI began to come down a bit. So although it did not make too much of a headway, and you can see here again this POC of morning, which was at 135, is where we stalled in that afternoon. So this is how we make use of line charts, and what we can do with the line chart, just like how we saw with the straddle, is have this two window mode on, have the line chart or the market profile chart on the left, and have the order flow chart of that particular option on the right. So because we are talking about the 25,400 call, I'm just having a look at that particular order flow to see what signals we were getting when we broke about this VWAP at 1. 15. And if we were getting any signs at VWAP, which from where we could have taken a long trade for this POC of 135. Although this is a little out of money for long options, we generally look to trade at least 200 points in the money option for a long option. So the ideal trade would have been the 24 200 call, which we did trade also. So I'll just go to the 25 200 call and see what we have done today in terms of that action which we spoke about. So this is that lows which we made in the G period. And before that, I would also want to show one nice move in this option where the D period today gave a move similar to what a seaside setup does. So you can see at the open how this is the opening order flow of the 25 200 call, and you can see how we got zeros at the lows, remained at VWAP, and then went on to make these new highs with an IB bar. And this, the next bar, which we got confirmation even in the futures chart that we're getting an RS, this is very clearly telling us to book profit. And once this POC of 273 was broken, there was no case of holding longs in this call. And this 273 is the POC which we are seeing here also on the line chart, and is where we stalled later in the day also. This move which came at 154, I'll just quickly move on to that 154 move to see how we left another RS right at the morning RS level. So you can see how we have left this RS right at the place where we left the RS in the morning, and this multiple order flow signals, similar order flow signals coming at a same zone, is telling you that this zone is controlled by sellers. And the similar thing on the downside, when we are getting RBs, will tell you that this is being held by buyers. So this 1 o'clock bar, this yellow dotted line in the order flow is that of the IBL, the initial balance low, the first hour low. So whenever we are getting this marginal break of that IBL and we see an RB, it is an indication that that move is getting rejected, and the easiest it will do is go back to VWAP. And this is a very good setup. This is what we do in the C side when we get that fake move in the C period, and it gives us a move back to VWAP. And we look at how it gets accepted at the VWAP. In case if we get an IB at VWAP, there is a very good chance of this kind of an auction giving us a FA confirmation. So this went on to live this IB at VWAP. So with this as our reference, we went on to make those highs. But that RS of morning did not give us that gate pass. So that is where we had to book out and be happy with that range. And that is the reason we have formed a balance today. It was not dominated by one side, but overall the major trend of the market is still higher. So these are the option chart. I will quickly show one of the put chart, and let's have a look at 25 500 put. Again, go with the line chart. And we can see here how this big, the OI which was increasing till the IB, because the B period was where we made the high. So there was some writing coming in this put. And why we can say it was writing, because the price of this was falling below the POC and the VWAP. So, and the OI was increasing. So that was very clearly showing us that the writers were getting into this put. I'll just have the intraday chart. And before I shift to the intraday chart, I would want to focus on this POC of 215, which is the closing POC from Friday. So this 215, you can just make a note, and I'll just show you the intraday chart so that we can get a closer in the better look. So here you can see how the OI has kept on increasing. And on the left side, I will put up the put chart. We'll have the order flow chart of the put, and just like what we did in futures, I'll have the 15-minute one so that we'll just quickly see how the auction panned out. So this is the 9:15 bar. The first 15 minutes, you can see zeros on the up and it is probing lower. The cot is also red and the OI is increasing. So this is a very classic case which is telling us OI is increasing. That means OI is adding, and the cot is red. That means it is the writers who are adding. So it is confirming by this line chart which is showing us the OI increase and the strike price going down, the premium going down. So it kept going down till the B period was done. And what happened in the B period was the POC shifted to the bottom at 150. So when the POC shifted lower, and when we saw in Nifty futures that RS was formed, we just needed to wait for a close above VWAP. And once this was done in this 1030 bar, it was very clear that these writers would get into trouble. So you can see this move above VWAP. This was telling us that the writers are now running for cover, and it was confirmed by the OI line coming down. And you can see these red spikes. These green spikes tell us that the OI is increasing, and the red spike is telling us that the OI is coming down. So you can see how even on Monday we can see the writers being getting a squeeze because of the move not happening in their favor. And what we did was, in the upside, you can see how that move was held right at the 215 level, which we had seen as a POC from Friday. So that was an objective, and what we have seen here is zeros on the top on the buy side, similar to what we saw in Nifty futures when we made those new highs in the BP rate. So when you see this kind of zone of zeros at the extreme, it is telling us that move in this direction is mostly done. And we have got multiple RS bars right at this 210 zone. And then once this IS came, this put in fact became a good sell side trade. You could have sold this put with a stop loss at this VPOC of NPOC of 222. And you can see how that IS went on to give another IS at VWAP. This was another signal to remain short in this put, which gave us yet another IS. And then the morning RB bar, which was here, held. So this was one profit booking part, but still this put has stayed below the VWAP into the close. So this POC of 165 will be our reference for tomorrow. So as long as we are below this, you can expect Nifty to be bullish. If you want to go long on the put side, this 165 in this 25,500 put will have to be taken out and sustained. So this is how we make use of the line charts. You can also, as I mentioned, if you have a bigger monitor, you can go for these four screen mode charts, wherein you can see not two but four. So you can either have the market profile of Nifty, Bank Nifty on one side, order flow of 3 minutes on the other side, or you can just have the Nifty market profile chart and 3 minute and 30 minute of order flow on at the bottom, and then you have the spectrum chart on one of the windows. So these permutation combinations are possible and can be customized as per an individual reference preference, and as the trader is comfortable. You can have it separately for call and put, with call on one side, put on one side, or you can have it as instrument wise. So we have lot of features, and we keep adding new features onto this charts. We keep upgrading these versions. The version right now for this chart is 1.5.15, and you will keep seeing a change of this. So there are a lot of additions which keep happening in this, and there are some planned additions which are there, which are going to get live very soon. So once we get that, that is also coming in these line charts itself. and those are very good additions, and those additions are based on the feedback we get from everyone, including guys who are attending this YouTube session, because we always ask you for your queries, and we have asked you to email us at charts@vtrender.com or support@vtrender.com for your suggestions and how we can make this charts even more better. So we are open to suggestions, and that is what we our team is been working on, and these refinements and additions will keep happening. So as and when the additions happen, we will have them explained. So far, the process here, even the line charts, I have explained a lot of features which I'm not sure many people were aware who are using vtrender charts. Even how we can use the option table, I have explained in detail on Friday. So the line chart is something which we saw in detail today. This dual window mode and 4 window mode is something which you can use extensively, provided you have a bigger screen, and you can view all the charts with good fine content. So we will continue to explain whatever features have been added, and we will disclose them when they've been added, and we'll have a session which covers how to use them also. So that is it for today, guys, from my side. Let us see how it goes forward. A quick sign off with the Bank Nifty profile chart, because I don't think we have covered the Bank Nifty profile, futures profile. So here you can see how we have left an AP rate buying tail, and that AP rate buying tail was defended in the G. So we have already seen that in spot. The same thing has happened in futures. So this buying tail would be the reference. 5 to 100 would be the support for tomorrow in Bank Nifty. Whereas the POC is shifted to the top, we have formed a P-shaped profile. So 52260 would be the reference in futures. 52153 I think is the coinciding level in spot. 52260 will be the one in futures. So if we sustain about this and get some buy side signals in order flow, we are good for more upside. And if we are not able to sustain above this, we can look for a test of this VWAP and the HVN of 52125 and this A period buying tail. So as I have already spoken about this many times, we discuss all these features, all these charts, and make use of all the option suite which we have at vtrender charts live in the trading room. We look at all the combinations and look for favorable trading setups to make the edge more in our favor. So that is why we have a group of traders who are always at it all the time in live markets. So that is a very good place to be in if you are a serious trader and an active trader who are looking to trade markets every day. We have a limited options in the table because it is based on volumes and also the price. That is why we have the NTM, near the money strikes. We are concentrating there because the volumes are most in options over there. Out of money far away strikes have hardly any volume, so it is of no use looking at those charts because they can easily get swiped. So that is the reason we have a limited number of strike, and as and when the spectrum range keeps changing, you don't have access to the out of the money, deep out of the money option strike prices. And I've already shown how in the options table we give lot of importance to this volume data, and the volumes which are in orange show us the highest volumes at that particular strike. So the highest volumes on the put today was on this 25,400 and 25,300, whereas on the call again was 25,400 and 25,500. So we would want to focus more on strike prices which are attracting highest volumes. So that is the reason we don't have charts of all these, although the option table is giving you the strike prices of everything. So that is it for today, guys. So as always, if you have any queries, do write to us. You can also DM me on X. My X ID is open at Uttam Goel, and we would love to support you going forward and have your feedback and any suggestions you have to how to we can improve our sessions or the chart section. So thank you all for joining in, and let's see how this week goes and how that big event plays out. Until the time we meet up next, all of you have a great trading week ahead.